If you are a parent or a teacher of a person with Down syndrome or other learning disabilities who is struggling to learn to read, I want to share with you great news about a program I finally found to help our daughter after years of frustrating attempts to teach her to read. This is Grace, our daughter, and she is 14 years old and she has Down syndrome. Grace has 7 brothers and sisters, ages 23 down to 7 years old. The oldest 2 are graduated from high school and are now taking college classes. I'm a veteran homeschooling mom, and I've successfully used a variety of phonics programs to teach everybody but Grace to read. I believe phonics is the ultimate method for learning to read because once a child learns the rules, he or she can attack any word that they encounter while reading. However, this approach has not worked for some children, including our Gracie. When Grace was 6 or 7 years old, I bought an excellent book written specifically for those wanting to teach children with Down syndrome to read. This book started with sight reading of simple words and names of family members and encouraged the making of little books with those words. Many appealing games and manipulatives are part of this approach. So along with homeschooling 7 other children at that time, as well as trying to juggle meals, laundry, and also care of all the animals on our farm, I faithfully tried to make fun little books for Grace to sight read, and we tried some of the fun games too. I ran into 2 problems. One, once Grace had learned the book and all the words in it, I didn't know how to incorporate review of those words into new little books. So our pile of homemade flashcards was getting huge and overwhelming to Grace. Number 2, with the rest of our busy life going on, I was not able to be consistent with the games or the bookmaking. With no built-in regular review, Grace eventually forgot all of what she had learned. A friend suggested I try a sight word program built on simply memorizing unrelated list of words. Although it required no advanced preparation on my part, which was nice, Grace got to hating it so much she would clamp her mouth closed and not cooperate at all. So then we tried my favorite approach of phonics, starting with the basics of what sound a letter makes and trying to hear that sound in the beginning of words. Even using a highly acclaimed meant for kindergarten program, Grace just could not get this. For example, she would tell me bell started with a t, even after months of review of the T sound, but we kept on with it way too long because I didn't know where else to turn. Then I stumbled upon the failure-free reading program. It is truly the answer to all our problems, and Grace loves it. The program was developed by Dr. Joseph Lockovich, a specialist in the reading process and in teaching it to people with learning difficulties who cannot catch on to the phonics way of instruction. A lot of the failure-free reading program takes place online. All we have to do is to log in, and the next lesson pops up for Grace to do.
The first important vocabulary word for this story is park. Park. A park is a place.
The entire program is a series of little booklets or readers, each telling a story using words which reappear in subsequent books, so there is built-in review. The booklet is taught 1 sentence at a time. The first section of a particular lesson will introduce a few new vocabulary words using pictures and a spoken description of the words' meanings. Then those words are put together into sentences which build upon each other. The student uses the mouse to click on specific words asked for, to fill in the blank with the missing word or phrase from the sentence, to spell words, and to answer multiple choice comprehension questions.
Excellent. Fantastic.
After Grace completes a lesson, the failure-free reading program provides a variety of work pages for her to reinforce on paper what she just learned on the computer. I found that some of those work pages are too difficult for Grace to grasp, so we have either skipped or simplified those. The pages we regularly make use of include some matching and fill in the blank, a recopying of the newly learned sentence, and illustrating it too. I shoot for giving Grace at least 3 practice sheets after each lesson. Thanks to the excellent handwriting program we used called Handwriting Without Tears, developed by an occupational therapist, Grace has no problem handling the written pages. Grace's favorite part of the failure-free reading program are the actual booklets. She calls them her books. Many times I find her on the couch or porch swing reading them. Whenever friends or extended family members come to visit, Grace is sure to pull out her latest booklet to read to them.
We can see dogs and birds in the woods.
Oh.
We can see a big dog. We can see a big dog playing. We can see a big dog playing in the woods.
If a struggling student already has a little reading ability under his or her belt, the failure-free reading program provides a placement test so that time and interest are not wasted on lessons which are too easy. Grace tested into the very beginning level. After she had learned maybe 3 or 4 of the first story sentences, I had the bright idea of recombining them into new sentences for her to read. I was disappointed to find this was too hard for her, even though she knew the words when reading the sentences she'd been taught. Dr. Lakovich told me it was too early to try this trick on her and just to rest in following the prescribed program. At the end of the first booklet or two Grace completed, I was again disappointed that she did not always know every vocabulary word when presented on a flashcard or list. I found myself adjusting her online bookmark so as to make her repeat a lesson several times until she really got down those vocabulary words pat. I began to think that Grace would be 35 years old before she completed the failure-free reading program and was able to read books other than the simple readers at the start of it. Again, Dr. Lakovich reassured me that this ability would come naturally as I just continued giving Grace lesson after lesson, using the online presentation and the follow-up work pages and booklet reading practice day after day. I rested in Dr. Lakovich's advice and began to systematically work Grace through the booklets, a lesson every day or two. If we missed more than 2 days, sometimes I would back up her online bookmark to review the most recent lesson, but mostly we kept moving. And a miracle occurred. Vocabulary words from earlier books get repeated again and again in the subsequent stories. This repeated exposure caused them to soak into Gracie's pretty head, and soon she knew them off a list or a flashcard. The words started taking on meaning in Grace's life too. Because walking in the woods is part of one of her stories, when we were taking a walk in the woods on our farm, Grace suddenly got the connection and got all excited that she could read about what we were doing. Recently, our family attended a concert and my husband was talking about getting tickets. Tickets is a vocabulary word in one of Grace's stories, and when she heard us discussing this, she ran to show us where that word was used in her booklet. This scenario now happens regularly. Best of all, Gracie has started identifying words she knew when I was reading aloud to her from other books. What a total thrill to both her and me as she started seeing her words in real books. This assures us that soon Grace will be reading those books on her own. I'm in awe of how her brain must be working. She must already know 1,000 or more sight words at this point in the failure-free reading program. I can't imagine remembering that many new words, but her brain is developing new pathways to make that possible. I'm also grateful for something so fun and successful, which I only have to help Grace to log on to give her and give her her work and check the pages, and then to enjoy having her read to me. What a relief this is to my conscience and to my schedule. It's so easy for me. I can be consistent even on the busiest of days. If you are where we were, wondering how to teach and enthuse a struggling reader for whom phonics has not worked, check out the Failure-Free Reading Program at their website, www.failurefreereading.com. Everyone deserves the gift of reading, even if they have special needs. Give your student the satisfaction of becoming a fluent reader. Give yourself the thrill of watching this process happen in them, whether you're homeschooling or reinforcing classroom work. Check out the Failure-Free Reading Program now.